All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Daya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So with the blessings of Shri Shri Radha Gopinath, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev and all my Shiksha Gurus, I wish to offer my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas assembled here today and to everyone listening, and let us speak and hear from Srimad Bhagavatam for the pleasure of Shri Krishna. So today we are looking at Canto 3, Chapter 20, verse number 28. Chapter titled Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. So text number 28. Sovadharyasya karpanyam viviktadhyatma darshanaha vimunchatma tanum ghoram ityukto vimumochaha. Sovadharyasya karpanyam viviktadhyatma darshanaha vimunchatma tanum ghoram ityukto vimumochaha. Prabhuji's. Sovadharyasya karpanyam viviktadhyatma darshanaha vimunchatma tanum ghoram ityukto vimumochaha. darshanaha Chatmatanum Goram Ityukto Vimumochaha. Okay, let us look at the word-to-word translation. Saha, the Supreme Lord, Lord Hari. Avadharya, perceiving. Asya, of Lord Brahma. Karpanyam, the distress. Vivikta, without a doubt. Adhyatma, minds of others. Darshanaha, one who can see. Vimuncha, cast off. Atmatanum, your body. Ghoram, impure. Ityuktaha, thus commanded. Vimumochaha, Lord Brahma threw it off. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Lord, who can distinctly see the minds of others, perceived Brahma's distress and said to him, "Cast off this impure body of yours." Thus commanded by the Lord, Brahma cast off his body. The purport. The Lord is described here by the word Viviktadhyatma Darshanaha. If anyone can completely perceive another's distress without doubt, it is the Lord Himself. If someone is in distress and wants to get relief from his friend, sometimes it so happens that his friend does not appreciate the volume of distress he is suffering. But for the Supreme Lord, it is not difficult. The Supreme Lord as Paramatma is sitting within the heart of every living entity, and He directly perceives the exact causes of distress. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha. I am sitting in everyone's heart, and because of me, one's remembrance and forgetfulness occur. Thus, whenever one fully surrenders unto the Supreme Lord, one finds that He is sitting within one's heart. He can give us direction how to get out of dangers or how to approach Him in devotional service. The Lord, however, asked Brahma to give up his present body because it had created the demoniac principle. According to Sridhara Swami, Brahma's constant dropping of his body does not refer to his actually giving up his body. Rather, he suggests that Brahma gave up a particular mentality. Mind is the subtle body of the living entity. We may sometimes be absorbed in some thought which is sinful, but if we give up the sinful thought, it may be said that we give up the body. Brahma's mind was not in correct order when he created the demons. It must have been full of passion because the entire creation was passionate. Therefore, such passionate sons were born. It follows that any father and mother should also be careful while begetting children. The mental condition of a child depends upon the mental status of his parents at the time he is conceived. According to the Vedic system, therefore, the Dhana Samskara, or the ceremony for giving birth to a child, is observed. Before begetting a child, one has to sanctify his perplexed mind. When the parents engage their minds in the lotus feet of the Lord, and in such a state the child is born, naturally good devotee children come. When the society is full of such good population, there is no trouble for demoniac mentalities. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Let us do Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhutair mahadbi yayima puro vibhu nirmaya shete yadamoshu purusha bhungter gunamsho dasashodasatmaka solang krishishta bhagavan vachamsi me. Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satata Pibatam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panktanam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam. Hare Krishna. Welcome again to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we are hearing from Canto 3, Chapter 20, and the verse number is 28. Sobhadharyasya karpanyam viviktadhyatma darshanaha vimunchatma tanum ghoram ityukto vimumochaha. Let's hear the translation once. The Lord, who can distinctly see the minds of others, perceived Brahma's distress and said to him, "Cast off this impure body of yours." Thus commanded by the Lord, Brahma cast off his body. So this is a very beautiful word that is teaching us about the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. That is his compassionate nature. So one of the most important qualities of Shri Krishna, of course his qualities are immense, we cannot even count them. They are as deep as the ocean. And he is also called as Karuna Sindhu. It is the ocean of mercy. So that one quality of Shri Krishna that attracts everyone towards him, and that one quality of Krishna that gives us an opportunity to go back to him is his causeless mercy. Because without that, there is no way that we can do anything in this life, let alone going back to Shri Krishna. But even in this life, for us to be able to do any activity, for us to even lead our life, even for a blade of grass to move, even for us to get our food, our shelter, our, the devotee association, for everything, without the mercy of Shri Krishna, it is not possible. So in this verse, we are seeing this beautiful description of the Lord, which is Viviktadhyatma Darshanaha. That is, the one who can perceive the distress of others. And Srila Prabhupada focuses very beautifully on this aspect in his purport. So we will reflect on that a little bit more. So before we go into the discussion of what exactly is being given here, we'll just have a little context of this verse so that we can understand and appreciate this verse a bit more. So in this chapter, that is chapter 20 of Canto 3, which is titled as The Conversation Between Vidura and Maitreya, what do we see? After hearing about the Varaha incarnation of the Lord, Vidura is asking various questions to Maitreya Muni. So he starts by asking, how did Lord Brahma begin to create? How did creation come into being? And then how did the creation evolve from one species to the other? Like this, Vidura is very inquisitively, he is asking Maitreya Muni. And then Maitreya Muni begins to speak. So he says how Lord Mahavishnu, along with the force of time, what did he do? He created the material elements. The material elements were produced. That is, we know earth, water, fire, ether, all the material elements were produced. Then the false ego. So all this came into manifestation. Then Lord Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, what did he do? He entered each universe. So there were innumerable universes that were created. So into each of those, the Lord enters into that universe as the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And then from his navel sprouts the beautiful lotus flower. And then on top of that lotus, the first living entity, who is Lord Brahma, was created. And then Lord Vishnu, by entering the heart of Lord Brahma, he gave him the intelligence to create. So we see that in the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it? Janmadasya yatonvayadi tarata scharteshva bhignaswarat tene brahma hridaya adi kavaye muhyanti yat surayaha tejo vari mridam yata vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha damna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. So this beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, the very first verse, establishes the supremacy of Shri Krishna. how he is the foundation of everything. Adi Kavaye, and he is the absolute truth, Satyam Param. So I remember when I started attending Srimad Bhagavatam class, and this was the very first class that I attended, the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And just that day, my Shiksha Guru, His Grace Viraj Prabhuji, at the end of the class, he just said, so all of you, by heart this verse. That's all. And that was the very first day I went for a Bhagavatam class, and I had no idea about Bhagavatam. Nothing. But then on hearing this from my Shiksha Guru, I felt, okay, if he's saying something, then I have to follow it. So I went, it was a train journey back, and through the whole train journey, I was trying to meditate and I was trying to by heart this verse. So I just want to share that with all of you to say, all of you also please by heart this verse, if it's possible. You can, because it is the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam that gives us the foundation for our Krishna consciousness. So if all of you can try and by heart it would be great. Yes? Yes? Okay, thank you. So we see how then Lord Brahma, he begins the creation. So he starts off by creating the yakshas and the rakshasas by the creation of night, which is in the mode of ignorance. Then he creates the demigods by the creation of day, which is in the mode of goodness. And then after that, he created the Adevan, that is the Asuras, the demons. And then what happened? These demons, they were so lustful and they were running behind Lord Brahma with such intense lusty desires. And they wanted to copulate with him, who was their own father. So such degraded mentality, with that the demons were running and they were chasing Lord Brahma. And at this sight, what happened? Out of his fear and anxiety, seeing that these demons who were his own creation, they are running towards him with such an impure mind, Lord Brahma then runs to Lord Hari and he takes his shelter. Because we know that in any situation, whatever happens, it is only Lord Krishna who can give us protection. Without that, there is nothing that we can do. So Lord Brahma, we can take the example straight from him. When he was put in such a difficult situation, what did he do? He just ran to the Supreme Lord Hari. And then what happened? Lord Brahma then spoke to the Supreme Lord and he said, "O Lord, please protect me from these demons because you are the only one who is capable of ending my distress." So, no matter what happens in our life, we turn to Shri Krishna for protection, for his shelter, knowing and having full faith that Lord Krishna is there on our side. And then that brings us to today's verse, where the Lord is described as Vivikta Adhyatma Dharshanaha. So the one who perceives the distress of others. So the Supreme Lord Hari, on seeing the distress of Brahma, what did he do? He said, just cast off your impure body. Why? Because Brahma had created these demons who were in the mode of ignorance through his and with the demoniac tendencies. So now the Supreme Lord said, just give up this body. And then immediately what did Lord Brahma do? He didn't think, should I not? What is the best thing to do? No, immediately he just threw off his body at the instruction of the Lord. So immediately he followed that. So here we can see how Srila Prabhupada is explaining that the Lord is, whenever anyone can completely perceive another's distress without doubt, it is the Lord Himself. So there are three important aspects in this purport that Srila Prabhupada is focusing on, and we will look at them one by one. So in the first part, Srila Prabhupada focuses on the mercy of Shri Krishna. And he says that when someone is in distress, when someone is in a painful situation, sometimes we speak to our friends or we just share with them and we say, I'm going through this, in my life. It's really a very difficult time. How do I handle it? Or it could be sometimes very intense. And sometimes not everyone is able to understand our pain or feel our pain, what we are going through. That only we know. But what happens? The Supreme Lord who is within our heart, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishto. So the Lord who is in our heart, He can see our pain. The same intensity that we are going through, He can perceive our distress. And at that time, when we turn to Krishna and when we speak to Him, we can come in front of Radha Gopinath and we can speak to Radha Gopinath and say, Radha Gopinath, this is going on, in my life, I'm not able to handle this on my own. I need your help. You're the only one who can understand, who can feel my pain. Then what happens? Radha Gopinath immediately reciprocates with us, because He can see our distress, He can see our pain. So immediately He will make arrangements in such a way that you are taken out of that pain, that you are taken away from that distressful situation. He will send the right people, He will make the right arrangements. And all that, how does it happen? By the mercy of Shri Krishna. And the Lord's mercy flows through Srimati Radharani. Then from Srimati Radharani through all the gopis who are assisting her. And then from there, like that, it descends. It flows like a river. And then it comes down to Lord Brahma. And then it comes down to all the descendants from there, then through our Guru Parampara, then through Shri Gaurnitai, and then through all our Gurus, Srila Prabhupada, through our Gurus, our Shiksha Gurus, then through all the Vaishnavas with whom we can learn, from whom we can serve. Through them, the mercy of Shri Krishna flows, and finally it touches our heart. And it relieves our distress. So it is said that a Vaishnava is para dukkha dukhi. That is, in other words, he has no personal troubles. It is said that a Vaishnava is not concerned about any of his own distress or his painful situation. He is not bothered about that. But what he is worried about is the pain of others. What are they going through? And what is the most important or the most significant distress that anyone can go through is to believe that everything in this world is permanent. To not understand the temporary nature of this material world. Not knowing our relationship with Krishna. So that is where a Vaishnava, what happens? The role of a Vaishnava comes into play. So we see the best example coming from Srila Prabhupada himself. So that day in the Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja, we were hearing the beautiful offerings from all his senior disciples. isn't it? And what all of them spoke was on the compassion of Srila Prabhupada, how merciful he was. No matter what degraded situations that people were in, whoever he met, Srila Prabhupada wanted to extend his mercy to them. And that is para dukkha dukhi. So we see that aspect even from a beautiful prayer which Prahlad Maharaj offers. So we know that after the killing of Hiranyakashipu by Lord Nrsimhadev, what happened? No one could approach Lord Nrsimhadev because he was in his Ugra form. He was so angry. And then Lord Brahma sent Prahlad Maharaj. And then Prahlad Maharaj, he goes close to Nrsimhadev and he offers beautiful prayers. And in those prayers, one of the prayers that he offers is Prayena Deva Munaya Svavimukti Kama Maunam Charanti Vijanena Parartha Nishtha Naitan Vihaya Kripanan Vimumuksha Eko Nanyam Twadasya Sharanam Brahmatonu Pashe. So here Prahlad Maharaj is saying that, "O my Lord," I'll read the translation exactly so that I don't change anything. He says, "My dear Lord Nrsimhadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Maunavrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to the shelter at your lotus feet." So in the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that this is the decision of the Vaishnava, or the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. So a Vaishnava is not worried whether he's going to the heaven or to the hell, or to, remains in this planet, whether we take another birth. Whatever happens, it is Krishna's prerogative. It is his desire. It is his wish. We simply surrender to him. And what do we want to do? We want to take others to Krishna. So that is the mood of a Vaishnava. And that is why our whole movement is a preaching movement. So that is why we distribute books. So we have to understand the foundation. What are we doing when we are actually distributing books? We are distributing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. We are distributing Shri Krishna's mercy to everyone. And in fact, in one of the lectures in the temple, in the Bhagavatam class, I was hearing where that Prabhuji was saying that the actual mercy of Krishna is when we give, it is the mercy that goes to someone who even doesn't deserve it. And that is the actual mercy of Shri Krishna. When we extend our mercy to someone, even though they don't deserve it. And, and what is the best example of that, which we can see? Anyone? Jagai and Madai. So we can see how in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, Jagai and Madai, who were so fallen, who were so intoxicated, completely drunken, such intoxicated, poor individuals, what did they do? When Madhai, when he just threw a broken earthen pot right onto the head of Lord Nityananda Mahaprabhu, it just hit his head. And at that time, what happened? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he got so angry. And then now we can say, why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu become angry? Why didn't he become merciful? But there he is standing on the side of another Vaishnava who was hurt. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu couldn't bear this, and he wanted to actually just go and kill Madai. But at that time what happened? Nityananda Mahaprabhu, he stopped him. And then what did he even tell Madai? He said, do you think that I will stop giving you my love just because you hit me? So that was Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. So when we celebrate Nityananda Trayodashi, we beg for the mercy of Lord Nityananda, who is a representation of Lord Balram, who is the first expansion of Shri Krishna. We beg for their mercy, because without that we cannot approach Shri Krishna. So to that extent, Nityananda Mahaprabhu was so merciful. And then what happened? Jagai and Madai, they then became disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we can see that how throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many examples of so many devotees who received the mercy of Shri Krishna. Right from, Gajendra, who was in such a distressful situation, and he just called out to Lord Hari. And immediately Lord Vishnu appeared there on his Garuda, and he gave him protection. Then Mother Uttara, she was having Parikshit in her womb. And then when Ashwatthama had released the Sudarshan Chakra, what did Mother Uttara do? She ran to Krishna. And in that situation, Lord Krishna immediately gave his protection by him personally entering the womb and covering Parikshit Maharaj. And he gave him his personal protection. And then we see Draupadi, when she was in a situation where none of her husbands could do anything, she just called out to Lord Vishnu, and immediately Krishna gave her just yards and yards of saris protecting her. And then we see Ajamila, that though he was so sinful, just by chanting Lord Narayana's name once, who was just his son, immediately the Vishnu Dutas appeared. So to that extent, the Supreme Lord is merciful to all of us. So we see that in the Kaliya pastime, where we know that Kaliya the snake, who was such a, he was so poisonous, and he was putting up such a big fight with Krishna. And then at the end of the whole fight, what did Lord Krishna do? He just sent him back. He said, go now, go to your lake and stay there. Then at that time, the Nagapatnis, the wives of Kaliya, they come and they offer prayers to Krishna. And what are the Nagapatnis saying? Anugrahoyam bhavata krito hino dhando shatam the kalu kalmashapaha yaddanda shukat Tvamamushya dehina krodopitenu graha eva sammataha. So the Nagapatnis are saying, what you have done here is actually mercy for us, since the punishment you give to the wicked certainly drives away all their contamination. Indeed, because this conditioned soul, our husband, is so sinful that he has assumed the body of a serpent, your anger toward him is obviously to be understood as your mercy. So the Nagapatnis are beautifully saying that even though Shri Krishna exhibited his anger towards Kaliya and he suppressed his ego, what are the Nagapatnis saying? That your anger towards him is actually your mercy. Because of that, our husband's contamination is getting purified. So we can also see that sometimes, if we are put in any situation which is not very conducive, or which is, we may not be thinking that, okay, this is, what is going on. We have to see that as a mercy of Shri Krishna, because the Lord is purifying us through that situation. He is giving us an opportunity to turn back towards Him. So that's why we see Kunti Maharani is asking, give me more troubles, give me more troubles. So it doesn't mean that she is going to enjoy that, but she's saying that when I get it, I will turn towards you, Krishna. So even any troublesome situations in our life is the mercy of Shri Krishna. So then, in the next part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about how it is important for a mother and a father to conceive a child with a peaceful state of mind. So in the third part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about the Dhana Samskara. And why is he saying this? In what relation? Because Lord Brahma had created the demons in the mode of ignorance, that is, with demoniac tendencies. So he was in the mode of passion, Lord Brahma, and at that time he created them. And therefore what happened? The demons came about. And therefore the Lord says, give up this impure body. And there we also see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Sridhara Swami, he says that whenever Lord Brahma is just casting off his body like that, it also means that he is giving up a sinful thought. So we can also see how we can practically apply that in our life. So sometimes we may be attached to certain things, or we may be, having some sinful inclinations, or we may be in situations where we think, this is the best thing in this whole universe, and we might have, some impure tendencies in our heart. But then what happens? The minute we give up those tendencies, it's not easy, but when we pray to Krishna for his mercy, and when we eagerly try to get past those tendencies, what happens? It also means that we are shedding our body. We are giving up our body at those points. I remember personally when I was in a situation where, I felt, this is the entire world. And then when you see that, that's just, it is just not meant to be. It was so superficial and it is not the right thing that can happen in your life. And then I was crying and crying and crying and thinking, why is this happening to me? It's like, what did I do? And then and that was the time when I came into Krishna consciousness, and when I started understanding the philosophy, and when I started feeling that this is not real, there is much more to life than what I'm seeing. To me, it almost felt like I was dead and I was getting a new birth. I was becoming a new person. So we can clearly see these things when we surrender to Krishna, when we take shelter of him, when we take shelter of devotees. So, in the last part of the purport, as we saw, Srila Prabhupada focuses on the Dhana Samskara. So, he says that when a married couple, when they follow this Dhana ceremony, and when they keep their minds in a peaceful state. So that is why it is said that the mother and father to be, they take the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. They chant, they sing his glories, they constantly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And then in that state of mind, when they conceive a child, then what happens? We get nice devotee children. Then what happens? Then we can have a good society that will have such beautiful devotee children. So today we will end with this beautiful song that speaks about this Vividha Adhyatma Darshanaha. That is, which we also see, a Vaishnava is a Para Dukkha Dukhi. He perceives the distress of others. So let us also pray to Shri Krishna so that we may be able to become instruments of Shri Krishna's mercy. Because on our own, we cannot do anything. Because if we really look at our own inner natures, we are not really that kind. You know, we may be, yes, we might be helping people. We might be, just supporting people. But to really imbibe that merciful quality of Krishna, which is to take others to Krishna, for that we have to beg for Lord Nityananda Prabhu's mercy on us. We have to cry out to Shri Krishna. And then how can we extend that mercy to everyone? Simply by engaging them in serving Shri Krishna. That's all we have to do. So we don't have to put in any extra efforts. When a devotee comes, we say, "Oh, Mataji, do you want to make garlands?" So Mataji makes such beautiful garlands. The minute she engages another person to make garlands, then she is giving Lord Krishna's mercy to that person. And all these devotees here, you're all beautifully distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So the minute you give a book to someone, we are extending Shri Krishna's mercy to that person. The minute we ask someone to come and sing kirtan in front of Radha Gopinath, we are extending Shri Krishna's mercy to that person. When we are asking somebody to cook for Krishna, then we are extending Shri Krishna's mercy to that person so that they can serve Shri Krishna. So by doing all this, what happens? The removal of our distress or our painful situation is just a byproduct. But what happens is that we develop prema or love for Krishna, which is the ultimate goal of life. So we'll just hear this beautiful little song which says that one who is a Vaishnava, that is a devotee of Vishnu, knows the pain of others, does good to others without letting pride enter his mind. So that is another important quality that we have to imbibe. Sometimes when we are engaged in devotional service also, pride takes over. It is very easy to become carried away. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. And that is when we can learn from Lord Brahma. When he created, when he offers prayers, in one of the last verses, Lord Brahma prays, "O Shri Supreme Lord, please, let me not become proud that I am the creator. Please bless me so that I can constantly chant your holy names and your glories. So like that, we can also pray that without becoming proud, we extend Shri Krishna's mercy to everyone. Vaishnava jana to tene kahiye je पीड़ पराई जाने रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराई जाने रे पर दुखी उपकार करे तो ये पर दुखी उपकार करे तो ये मान भी मानन आने रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीड़ पराये जाने रे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला गुरुदेव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। Any questions? Shri. Yeah.
So, should we understand that it's generally referred to Mahavishnu, when somebody lucidly uses the word Vishnu, should we understand that they are referring to Mahavishnu?
It depends on the context. So when we refer to, I can refer to that and give the actual answer. I'm not 100% confident, but I feel it is also Kshirodakshayi Vishnu who is residing in our heart. So any Vishnu form is Vishnu. So I guess it would depend on the context.
I believe the focal point of Bhagavad Gita is that we are not this body but the soul. In this shloka, Lord Hari actually advised Brahmaji, Vimuncha Atma Tanum Ghoram, cast off this impure body of yours. It's very nice that I had a question, but when I was going through the purport, Srila Prabhupada beautifully quoted Sridhara Swami, that it's not the body, but it's actually the mentality. The question is, what's this Brahma's constant dropping of his body? What is that referred to? Which Prabhupada mentioned in the purport.
Yeah, which is what Sridhar Swami is also explaining, that this constant casting off of his body is actually the casting off of his mentality or his thought. So when he is casting off his, any thoughts that are not in alignment with Shri Krishna's will, although he is doing everything as per the Lord's will, but then at every step, even when he engages in an activity, and then he